John, this Reid Detmers sequel, terrible, terrible movie. Like the original is so much better. It has a plot and a story that goes nowhere, and so don't even see it, okay?
0 out of 5.
It's a 0 out of 5. Angels lose 10-5. They blow it in the 8th inning. We're going to talk all about it because that's what we do, right? We're going to talk all about it, and we're going to grab onto some hope because we're actually going to talk about the 3 reasons why this season has been better than the last 5 seasons combined. Plus, we're going to ask this question. What do you do with guys like Jhonathan Diaz and Chase Silseth? We're going to give you our answers coming up on Locked On Angels. You're Locked On with Mike and John, and that's what this is, Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know, someone said that you and I are really peppy in the morning. So after a loss, then this is actually going to be a really good thing. We're not going to be as peppy, right? Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening on the audio side, you can rate and review the pod. And if you're watching on the video side, you can subscribe and click the bell and be notified every time a new episode hits.
What's going on? Thanks for joining us for Locked On Angels. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, aka the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right, look, before we get into last night's game, let's flash back 1 year, Michael.
Okay.
You know why I'm taking you back 1 year ago yesterday?
I think so. Is this the anniversary, the terrible anniversary of the injury to Mike Trout?
This is the day all hope died in 2021 because Mike Trout got injured a year ago yesterday.
Yeah.
And so while we are down about the last 2 games against Texas, at least we still have all of our healthy players for the most part.
Yes, we do. We do. Mike actually had a really good anniversary game last night. Can we call it that? He went 3 for 4, hit a home run, his 10th, had a double, a walk, and a run scored. And that's about all the good news we have, right?
I mean, that seems like the kind of game that somebody would have and the Angels would win. So
yes.
What happened?
All right. So as we've talked about, Reid Detmers jumped on the struggle bus, 3 2/3 innings, 3 runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, 4 Ks. The only positive thing, John, was when Joe Maddon came out to grab him. I don't know if you saw him on the mound, but twice he said, no,
not done.
Talking about Reid Detmers. He didn't want to come out of that game. And I don't know. Do you think that Joe pulled him a bit too soon? Do you think he should have let him go a little bit longer?
I think if you let Reid Detmers finish that inning, it changes the whole shape of how you use the bullpen for the rest of the game. I think that Ollie Ortega coming in to get 1 out and then going another inning framed it in such a way that it set up the bullpen kind of differently moving forward. So I don't know. I mean, it was it really looked like last year's team just because of the blow up in the bottom of the 8th. And that was disappointing to see because Ryan Tepera is somebody that we signed to keep us in games. Right. And he seems to, he's been struggling a little bit and not able to hit the strike zone. So I think that Reid Detmers could have gotten that last out. I don't think that they were in any major trouble, and the game was still 3-3 at that point. And so it seemed, I just can't figure out Joe Maddon sometimes where he has confidence in guys in certain situations and then yanks them really early in other situations, especially when it's a tie game. I think when he got pulled, he had a runner on second, if I'm correct. I'm not sure, but
he gave up the home run to Cole Calhoun.
Right.
That was the last pitch he threw because then Joe ended up coming and getting him after that.
Got it. So he had clean bases. Yeah. Let him get the last out.
one more out, right? I think what I get really frustrated with modern day baseball is they think about the pitch count from the last game. It's been a week. The guy's going to run out of gas in a week. I don't quite understand that, and I don't know why things have changed so dramatically, but I dislike it. I hate it because I just don't like that that's the rhythm that they move by now.
But if you go back to 2014, 2015, 2016, I mean, think about Tyler Skaggs had to have Tommy John. There was, I think Nick Tropiano had to have Tommy John. Like, I don't know. I just think we have a horrible history of Tommy John in the water. I mean, Mike Clevenger wasn't even one of our guys when he had to have Tommy John, right? But he came from our system. So it must have been an organizational thing. But yeah, I think they're wearing some kid gloves here and just trying to protect these guys. And you're right. It was a week ago because we have a 6-man rotation and a day off. And at the same time, I don't even think that pitch count was a factor. I think Joe just kind of sometimes says, oh, I saw something that just showed me that he wasn't going to be able to get that last out. And I don't know, let him get the last out.
It seems like when he's got this quick trigger, it actually affects the team in a very negative way, right? Because go back, listen to episodes from when we first started back in April to like a couple weeks ago, right? Like we were talking about this very thing, and Joe is pulling these pitchers way too soon. And again, I'm going to reaffirm what we said a couple weeks ago. Terry Francona with the Guardians let his guys figure it out, even though we were crushing them. There were some games where they were still in there after they'd given up 5 runs, but they were still trying to figure it out.
You got to save the bullpen, and you got to go with the guys that can get at least one more out. Reid could have got one more out. That's what I think
he could have.
Yeah,
I think he could have. Speaking of pitching, I really liked Kyle Bearclaw. He looked really, really good. Got himself into a bit of a mess, but then got out of it. It was in the 7th inning, bases loaded jam, and he struck out the side, and he ended the inning by striking out Simeon, which was a huge out, and I think a great moment for him because typically that's a Ryan Tepera moment, and they switched roles in that game last night.
The ghost of Mike Butcher invaded Kyle Bearclaw and said, throw sliders. And so he threw 9 sliders. I don't know, not 9 sliders, but he struck out the slide on sliders.
I did love on the TV side. I don't know if you watched on the TV side, but when it was 10-4, we ended up getting one more run. But I do appreciate Gooby and Patrick O'Neill saying, well, we're going to the top of the 9th and Trout and Ohtani are coming up. And I literally said out loud, that's funny, guys. We're down by 6. I can't see us coming back. Yes, I have no hope. I know, but I couldn't see us coming back at the end of that game.
Not from 7 runs. I mean, good grief. That bottom of the 8th was just awful, and just hits getting through the defense, and Ryan Tepera can't throw a strike, and I don't know, man. And then Brandon Marsh having a Joe Dell moment out there.
He did.
Letting that roll all the way to the wall. You got to look the ball into the glove, bud. Here's me, a podcaster who knows nothing about playing the field, telling
but in Little League.
But in Little League. Let's talk about some positives, though. Taylor Ward, home run number 9, a career high for him.
That's awesome.
And that dude is just locked in, man.
He's raking.
And I was just thinking about it when the game started. Think about how much this team changed when he became the leadoff man. And how that 1-2-3 of Ohtani, Trout, and Rendon, we felt like wasn't really working. It totally changed with Taylor Ward. So that's awesome to see. Rendon got home run number 5, so I don't want to hear any Rendon slander on the timeline because he contributed in a big way last night. And then I actually have a stat here I'm going to pull up that I tweeted out on Locked On Angels, and it was about Andrew Velasquez. Let me just tell you what he's done in April. He was slashing 143 batting average, 229 on base percentage, and a 396 slugging percentage. Listen to the May so far. 239 batting average, so up from 143, almost 100 points. 300 on base percentage, and a 691 slugging percentage.
Wow.
I almost forgot what I was going to say. A slugging percentage. And part of that is he's hitting the ball hard, man. He's hitting it very, very well. And I know that we didn't see a lot of defensive highlights tonight. I know Matt Duffy he said later after the game, it wasn't so much that Garcia ran into him as he got hit in the face with the ball is what sent him down. So
Erica Weston actually tweeted that out, that that's what really threw him back, was the ball hit him in the side of the eye, and it just immediately went dark. So that's scary.
I just don't trust him over at first base either. I think Walsh, he needed a day off. He played both games of the doubleheader on Saturday. So I understand why he wasn't in there, but we don't have a backup first baseman unless you want to count Kurt Suzuki.
I don't want to count Kurt Suzuki.
You don't want to count Kurt Suzuki. Let's not do that then. Okay, we got to try and stop this sweep. Now, the good news is if we win today, we will have won this road trip. We will have taken 4 out of 7. So with Ohtani on the mound, we're very confident in Ohtani being on the mound. Hopefully, Joe doesn't take any of the important bats out of the lineup like he tends to do.
Right.
And let's get that win, come back to Anaheim, and face those A's this weekend. Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it. I think that we're going to try to go to the Friday game and get that
absolutely.
cowbell.
That's fun. I actually wanted to avoid that game because the cowbell was actually going to be handed out. So
well, we'll see what happens. I'll if I get one, I'll be sure to bring it on to the pod just for you.
Gee, thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, Locked On Angels is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Sorry, LinkedIn Jobs. With spring in the air and summer on the way, it's time for renewal and growth personally and professionally. And LinkedIn Jobs is here to help you and your business build a great team. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes to reach your network and beyond. The world's largest professional network, 810 million people. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. And it's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates that you want to talk to a whole lot faster. And did you know that nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn every single day? And here's a deal for you. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB. Post your job for free. And remember, there are some terms and conditions that do apply.
Well, we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now, for your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. You're going to get recaps of all the MLB games with analysis from our local experts, the hosts of the other Locked On MLB shows, taking fans through the season like no other network. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, so we are talking about pitching, and we know that Noah Syndergaard struggled 2 nights ago. Last night, we know that our boy Reid Detmers struggled and the bullpen struggled, which is why this next conversation is really, really necessary, John. We have guys like Jhonathan Diaz and Chase Silseth in that starting rotation. Chase is actually going to pitch on Friday night. That was announced on Tuesday night. And so that's exciting. He's going to pitch against the A's again, which I think is a great move. But it brought up this question. What do we do with guys like this? Like, do they stay up until they struggle? Or do we send them back down to develop a bit more in the minor leagues? John, what would you do if you're Perry Manassian, you're Joe Maddon? What do you do with guys like Jhonathan Diaz and Chase Silseth?
I think as long as they're helping you win, you keep them up. And you let them start. And I understand that we have Jose Suarez in AAA trying to figure some things out. But you know what? Suarez hasn't won yet this season. And Jhonathan Diaz and Chase Silseth have won this season. So I think this is the season. And we see this with Joe Adell as well. We, in a normal situation, which normal for the Angels is struggling to stay around 500. This is not a normal situation. We're trying to win and win often and win games and win now, right? And so I think that they're making very wise decisions on rolling with the guys who are helping contribute to the major league team right now. Now, I love Joe Adell, and the reason he's in the minors is because his play in the outfield was not contributing to a winning formula. And I think the same thing goes with somebody like Jose Suarez. His pitching was not contributing to a winning formula. So then you bring up a guy like Chase Silseth. By the way, he had an incredible interview on MLB Now on Tuesday, I believe. And we shared that because the guy is humble. He's 21 years old. He was so excited to get the call and just did a great interview. So check that out on our Twitter page. But to see Silseth and Diaz, who's pitched in 2 games so far, to see them succeed at this level, I think you got to keep rolling with those hot hands. And in the same way that you got to do that with the bats, you got to go with who's hot and who's hitting well. And I think the same thing can be said about the pitching. But what say you?
I think that they infuse life into this starting rotation, right? I think they bring their youth, they bring their humility, and I think they infuse a lot of energy into that starting rotation. I loved Jhonathan Diaz against Juan Soto. I loved that moment when Soto drew the walk and stared him down. And we've talked about this before, but Diaz was like, hey, it's what you do. Then when he struck him out, he said, I stared him back. And that's what you do, right? I love that energy and I love that fire. And I want to see that more and more and more. My only concern with keeping them in the starting rotation is Joe Maddon. And we've already talked about this, but him yanking them way too soon. I think you got to give them the time and the effort. You got to give them the moment. You got to let them get one more out. You got to let them go one more batter. And there are times where Joe Maddon does that really, really well. And then he reverts back to who he was last night and he starts yanking these guys way too soon. So if we can get a solid commitment from Joe Maddon that he is not going to yank these guys, then I say let's keep them up. And as you said, until they can't win anymore, and until they can't benefit our team anymore. And so let's have them stay, because I think that they're going to be a great addition to that starting rotation, and how exciting it is to have them in that rotation as young guys, humble guys who are getting the job done.
Now, be hypothetical with me here for a minute. We're going to close our eyes and dream a little bit. But if you have Chase Silseth be a successful pitcher all season long, in addition to the rotation that we have now that's doing quite well, do you trade? Do you make a move for a starting pitcher come the trade deadline? What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Because I think that you are adding to a rotation and you're adding to the top of the rotation. You're not just getting another guy, but you're getting the guy. You're making the Max Scherzer move, the Justin Verlander move. You're making that move to make your team better, because you're going to try to win in the playoffs and win the World Series. And Chase Silseth is great. And I think that he's going to be a great addition, but I still think that you have to surround him with some dudes, right? With somebody who can bring the fire and be able to get on that mound in Game 7 and act like it's a Saturday afternoon hanging out with the kids, right?
Right.
Somebody who's relaxed and calm and cool and collected. What say you?
I am curious to see how the rest of the season plays out, but I think I agree with you. You need the proven arm, somebody who's been there before, maybe a former World Series champion like a Max Scherzer, and somebody on that level. I know he's got the contract with the Mets, obviously, and the Mets are succeeding. I'm not saying trade for him, but what I am saying is get somebody with that mentality, because if you throw Patrick Sandoval, Reid Detmers, and somebody like Chase Silseth or Jhonathan Diaz to the Wolves in a playoff game, I don't think that we would be faulted for not winning a playoff series because of that. So I really think that you need the strong, been there before arm who can really captain a team into the playoffs. And I think that Ohtani and Syndergaard's obviously been there before, but Ohtani, I think, could handle that pressure, and Patrick Sandoval as well. But what were you going to say?
I think if you don't make that trade, then you have to bolster your bullpen, right? Because you're going to have these young guys on the mound, and there's going to be some games maybe in the playoffs where they fall apart, and you need to be probably 6 deep in that bullpen to be able to make sure that you have those innings covered, and those guys can go maybe 2 innings at a time, maybe even 3 innings, because those young guys, you just don't know what you're going to get with them. And so I think the move needs to be get the ace, but if you don't, you got to bolster that bullpen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good call. So while they're still hot, we'll keep them up with the major league team and let them get some innings against these teams that they can do well against and dominate. So I say let's keep rolling with Silseth and Diaz. There you go.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Built Bar. We received, John and I, a delivery this last week from our friends at Built Bar. It was a 12-pack, brand new birthday cake puffs. They are delicious.
So
John's
good.
had, I think, 16. You ordered another pack, didn't you? Right? They are really,
Not that
really
many.
good. They're the newest puffs from Built Bar, and they're covered in 100% white chocolate with added sprinkles. And here's the good news. They're only 150 calories with 16 grams of protein and 9 grams of sugar. And we want to thank Built Bar for sending us those samples. And we would love for them to send us any more samples that they have. I know that they have a raspberry one and they have a churro one. And so feel free to send that to Mike and John at Locked On Angels. Here's the best news. Whether it's a puff or a bar, Built Bars are better tasting and they're better for you, better than any candy bar. And all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. And so that means with a Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy what you're eating as well. Plus, all Built Bars are made with collagen protein, and John's wife says that's really, really good. It's a protein for your body, and your body absorbs that more efficiently and provides a ton of health benefits. So go to Built.com today to get your birthday cake puff recommendation from John and Mike at Locked On Angels, or order your favorite Built Bar today. You can use the promo code LOCK15 and you can get 15% off of your order. Again, go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, get 15% off your order at Built.com today.
Awesome. All right. So I know that we are not feeling very good after last night's game.
Right.
We saw flashes of the bullpen or the blowpen or, as our friend Andrew from Angels Top Plays put it, the Pangels.
The Pangels was my favorite, yeah.
And I know that we weren't feeling very good about the result of that game and even the game the other night as well against the Rangers. But we are here to stay optimistic because even though we've struggled, let's bring up a couple of facts here. We've seen the Dodgers lose 3 in a row to the Phillies this season. The Dodgers are a playoff team, of course. We've seen the Astros struggle against the Red Sox. I know they hit 5 home runs last night against the Red Sox, but the game before that, they struggled. They lost one to the Nationals. So every team is going to have their day, and they're going to get rained on like we did on Tuesday. So I think that we have some good reasons here for Locked On Angels listeners, because we know that this season is different than the past 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever you want to say. So, Mike, let's give our listeners 3 strong reasons why we have more hope for this season and why this season is better than the last few years.
Well, the narrative on Locked On Angels has been pitching, and more pitching, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about Diaz and Silseth. We've talked about Reid Detmers and Syndergaard. We talked about the bullpen, and that's the number one reason why this team is better than in years past.
Who would have thought?
They can pitch, right? Happy learned how to putt, and then the Angels learned how to pitch. And what I like about this team is that they're pitching fast, and I think that that's key. They're getting the ball and they're throwing it. And you've seen it from some of those young guys, especially last weekend, Sandoval included. They're getting the ball, they're getting the sign, and then they're going. And I think that that's key to this young rotation, especially.
Silseth was talking about in that MLB Now interview that he's got experience with the pitch clock. And so he's already a natural fast worker, but he's been working with the pitch clock down in AA. So hopefully we see that implemented next year and it speeds things up, because that 3-hour and 47-minute game against the Rangers last night was brutal.
You mean the pitch clock that's going to ruin all of baseball and the traditions of baseball?
That's the last thing that's going to ruin baseball.
You vote for Rob Manfred. I know that
Manfred will find another way to ruin baseball more than he already has. Continue.
What I really appreciate about the reality that it's pitching that's good is that even though Joe Maddon can frustrate us, he has said recently that he wants this to be a pitching organization. And if he needs pieces, he's going to go to the minor league and they're going to get the guys and they're going to bring them up. And they've already proven that they're going to do that. So the number one reason why this team is better than the last 5-6 years is because of pitching, John.
I agree. And another good reason is that the defense has been incredibly solid behind that pitching. It makes our pitching so much better. And I think that there was not a better demonstration of that than that Sunday game against the A's, where Patrick Sandoval had a lot of traffic on the base paths and the defense really picked him up. Of course, I've already talked about Andrew Velasquez and how his bat has improved since April, and his defense is comparable to, we're getting flashes of Simba. We're getting Andrelton Simmons vibes from Squid. And I think the more experience and more everyday play that he gets, like he's getting now, the better he's going to become. And then, of course, you got Anthony Rendon, who has healthy hips under him again.
Right.
Tony Two Hips is back, and he's making plays at third base all the time, which is great to see. And then, of course, you got Jared Walsh, who should be wearing yoga pants out there because he's going to rip a hole in his baseball pants because of those stretches that he does. So just the incredible defense behind our pitching has been super helpful in the infield. And then, of course, you have Taylor Ward in right, who has proven to be a very solid outfielder this season. He's
with
a
great
bulldog.
arm.
He'll chase things down. He's got that catcher's arm still. He's not a catcher anymore, but he can throw like one. And then I'm saying this the day after Brandon Marsh lets that ball roll under his glove, but you know that is not common Brandon Marsh at all. Marsh is a solid left fielder. And then Trout, that first out of the game last night, Trout had to run for that one in center field, almost to right center in front of in front of Taylor Ward. So they just have really solid defense up and down this lineup, which is way better than last season, because with Jose Iglesias, God love him, he was a great person for the personality for the team.
He was entertaining.
He could not do anything defensively, which was kind of surprising. But the defense behind this pitching is what's really helping them out this season, and why it's different than the last 5 years. Give us a third reason, Mike.
Yeah, here's the third reason, and this one actually is one of those intangible reasons that you can't really measure. You can't see it on the field. There's not a metric for it, and that is chemistry. And that's not the class that you failed in high school, John, but actually chemistry, like between the players, right?
Right.
And I don't know if you saw the article from Jeff Fletcher, but he tweeted out an article about how the Angels are having fireside chats, and they're led by Bradley and Loop. And so it's a way for them to talk through and celebrate wins and process losses. So they're sitting around having a conversation, and Bradley and Loop are leading those conversations and sharing great wisdom, practicing like learning and active listening. And I think that has obviously impacted the team in such a significant way, because you can see their unity, you can see their arm in arm, and they're after the same thing. They want the same thing this year, and they're not just trying to pad the stats. They want to win this year. And so that chemistry, that vibe, as we've talked about, has been really, really great this year. And I think very different than what we've seen in the last few years.
100%. And this is something you and I have talked about on Super Halo Bros probably last season. And then Trent Rush, who's from Angels Radio, brought this up, and he gets to spend a lot of time around the players. And one thing that he said that he noticed is how much Mike Trout has become the locker room leader for the Angels. And that's something you and I have wanted to see for a long time. Now, he did get hurt, and while he was still with the team when they were in town, he just couldn't be the leader without being on the field, right?
Yeah.
And so for Trout to step up and be the face of the team in terms of being the longest tenured guy there, I think is a huge deal, because, you know, the Albert Pujols and the Justin Uptons and all the veterans that came before him are gone. And Mike Trout had a great interview with Ken Rosenthal about this team. And he mentioned, like, you know, he's got to step up in place of guys like Pujols and Upton and be the locker room leader. And I think that the chemistry that you're seeing has a lot to do with him being the leader and kind of allowing that to happen. Everybody's having so much fun on this team. And I think now that the old guard is out of the way, it lets young guys like Ohtani and Trout and Walsh kind of create the culture there. So I think that we have something special brewing in Anaheim. So even though we're discouraged by the bullpen outing from last night, we do have some solid pitching. And every guy is going to have their day. Noah had it the other day. Tepera, he's got to figure out how to throw strikes. But we're very confident in the pitching moving forward. Now, if you want to be confident in a great next listen, Mike, where should our listeners go for their next listen?
Well, the Locked On MLB podcast, hosted by Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call him Sully. He's actually a really great host, and he brings a unique perspective on Major League Baseball, past and present. And his podcast is free, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you want to keep up with us on social media, you can follow us at Locked On Angels on Twitter. You can also catch Mike and I at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to give us a call and share your thoughts, hit us up on our voicemail line, 714-409-6396. That number will also be in the episode description. So put us in your contacts and give us a call after a night like last night when you are feeling down about the Halos, and share your thoughts. We want to hear from you. And in the meantime, Mike, what do we have on Locked On Angels tomorrow?
All right, so John and I are going to put our GM hats on, and we're going to ask this question: how will this team get better? Is it through a trade, or a call up from the minors? We'll give you our thoughts tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Love it. Looking forward to that conversation. If you guys have thoughts, be sure to comment below on YouTube. And again, reach out to us on social media. In the meantime, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And we'll see you right here tomorrow for more Locked On Angels.